Welcome to Valam channel, sir. Here is Benny Benislas Tushan. Hope I'm pronouncing your good name in a proper manner.
Yes, you're correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a journalist and an advocate from Sri Lanka. He's here to share his views on Sri Lankan election. Welcome, sir.
Welcome and thank you for having me here, Priya.
Thank you. Thank you. So we'll stick into the topic. Sri Lanka's presidential election was viewed as a tightly contested election. Even though there were multiple contests, the contest was between National People's Party leader Anura Kumara Dissanayake and Sri Lankan opposition leader Sajith Premadasa. Could you give us your perspective on this election, sir?
Sure. So I think before talking about Sri Lankan election that finished 2 days ago, it's also important to uh, move 2 years back and to reflect on the people's struggle, which was called the Aragalia that materialized in 2022, which was in opposition to the former president and his policies. Um, and ever since that happened, this is the first time people got to uh, come out to the voting booths and send a clear electoral message. This is whom we put our trust upon, or this is whom we want uh, to rule us, right? So in
Yeah.
that way, this is although what you've said is correct, but I would say this was, in a way, it was a three-way race. The former president Ranil Wickremesinghe uh, was also considered to be a formidable candidate while the elections was going on, although the results um, said otherwise. Then again, Anur Kumar Dissanayake, whom people call as AKD from National People's Party, and Sajith Premadasa from SJB's Samagi Janabalaya were like top two contenders. So in that way, this election is crucial because this is the first time people are nationally saying, or this is the first time where the political parties are able to see where people's pulse is, right? Because
Okay.
although the great struggle materialized, but the last 2 years there has been a lot of politicking, and the people who were elected, the same people whom the people protested against, were still in parliament and still held on to power. And even the former president was elected on the largest sum of vote by the former SLPP party, the former ruling party. So
Okay.
this election is significant because people have sent a very clear message. And also, this election is very significant in a way that this is one of the very few times a complete outsider has come into power, right?
Yeah.
And a complete outsider who is not necessarily from a political dynasty, who is not necessarily from an established um, uh, party has come to power. NPP has its region's origin. A lot of people had their reservations because there was JVP, which later morphed into NVP, and JVP was considered responsible for two violent insurrections. But I think Andhra Kumar Dissanayake in the past two election cycles has really worked hard to um rethink to salvage that image and to portray themselves as the ones who belong to common men. And I think that really spoke loud and clear. That was spoken loud and clear in the election results.
Yeah.
Priya.
Actually, Sajith's supporters hold the view that Ranil Wickremesinghe should have backed Sajith Premadasa in this election. It is stated that Ranil's election contest led to Sajith's defeat actually. Do you think that's true to a certain extent?
Anyway, that's somebody's opinion. I don't want to say it's right or wrong. But then
Okay.
again, if you see both Ranil Wickremesinghe and Sajid Premadas, they come from the same party origins, United
Yeah.
National Party, which is the oldest parties in Sri Lanka. But then again, even the opposition leader Sajid Premadasa broke away from UNP, came form because of the clear differences in leadership between former President Ranil Wickremesinghe and the current opposition leader Sajid Premadasa. So this is almost like an argument of what if they join forces together, what if that happened, what if this happened. Uh, But I think while we can moot this point whether uh, Ranil Wickremesinghe and Sajid Premadasa should have come together, but one thing that is very clear is that people have spoken loud and clear, and they have
Yeah.
said, "Trust in the establishment politics anymore. We want a fresh new start. We want somebody who would take accountability seriously." And let's not forget that Andhra Kumar Disanayake ran on anti-corruption platform. He ran on the platform, and also this is quite interesting. Being a Tamil comes from the north, um, this is one of the very few presidential election where a Sinhala nationalist candidate hasn't really spoken against the racial sentiments. So
Okay.
he hasn't really demonized race or ethnicity or religion, where he has always portrayed himself to be during this election campaign as somebody who wants to be a president for all. So in that way, rather than considering all those what ifs, I would say like people have spoken loud and clearly, and let's see what the new president does. Not just for those who elected, but also for those who hasn't voted for him, and how he will implement. Yeah.
Now, as you say, for the first time ever in Sri Lankan presidential elections, has preferential votes counted. This was really shocking and
Mhm.
need to be welcomed. Despite the preferential votes being counted, there was no significant change in that. What's the reason for that, sir? Likewise, how do you perceive Anura Kumara Disnayake's tremendous growth in a very short period?
It's quite interesting, right? Because this is very true that the preferential votes were not counted in earlier times, but this was the first time
Yeah,
where somebody.
first time.
Yes. And also, I'll go back to the point that I made earlier, where this is not necessarily a two-way race, but it was a three-way race. The former president Ranil Wickremesinghe got more than 2 million votes, which would have made that significant delta in the votes the earlier two candidates got, right?
Yeah.
Um, when we look at the preferential votes being counted, and when where there's not one candidate having an outright majority, it's also go on to say that there's a lot more trust building that needs to be done by the incumbent right now. And
Okay.
it is a good message. I would say it's a healthy message from the electorate, because uh, we've seen from the last election cycle what happened when somebody got overwhelming majority, and when somebody got the majority from the Sinhala community, and how they were um, least connected to the issues of the grassroots and of the people. So I think the preferential votes are there for a reason, and I don't think it's a regressive thing where it went on to the extent of being it counted. And also, I believe that because it hasn't given an outright majority for the incumbent president, the president elect, the president Andhra Kumar Disanayake, it sends a very clear message that there's a lot more trust building that needs to be done.
But in another hand, we have an odd message. The Tamil Federation fielded Ayyanithran Selvam as the Tamil common candidate in the election. Although he tried, he was not successful on a large scale. Sajid Premadasa had a lot of support even in areas where there were Tamils, as evidenced. Has the Tamil common candidate been rejected by Tamils in Sri Lanka?
This has been a long question for some time, right? Like
Yeah.
this idea of having a Tamil common candidate has been flirted for a long time by different political actors. Those who those who campaign for the Tamil common candidate said that they are expecting at least 1 million votes for the Tamil common candidate, and it would show the rigor of their course, right? But we
Okay.
saw that only 226,000 ended up voting for Tamil common candidate.
Okay.
Um, so the expectation that they had and the reality are in a completely two different levels, right? If you look at one of the oldest Tamil parties in Sri Lanka, Ilangai Tamilarasa Katchi, they outrightly rejected the idea of Tamil common candidate and they supported Sajid Premadasa, saying that he is the one who has given them assurance about meaningful power sharing or devolution. Where he said if he becomes the president, he'll end up implementing the full 13th Amendment, right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
they, based on that assurance, they rejected saying this is. They used a very interesting term called this is a visaparuchai, like this is a unnecessary unnecessary step. Um, but I wouldn't also say that not we shouldn't simply negate the effect of a Tamil candidate because whatever said and done, he has ended up getting 226,000 votes as well. So it's 226,000 people saying that the establishment politics or the majoritarian politics have failed us so many times. And even if it is to send a message, we are sending a message, guys, we need our problems to be solved, right? So there are like two camps in the Tamil sites where people are thinking that we should have gone with a viable candidate where we can really have a negotiation power. And there's this other camp that's saying we'll show them what we are capable of. But I think only history will tell the impact of this choice. But I think a lot of people expressed very clear reservation against Tamil common candidate because we are saying we are fighting for self-determination. And if a large number of Tamils don't end up voting for them, that itself will negate or weaken our cause for self-determination. So I think only time will answer it.
Yeah.
But then again, I think the impact of this will also be seen in the upcoming parliamentary elections because there was a clear division in those who supported for Tamil common candidate as well as those who supported for other candidates. So I think the reverberation of it will also be seen during the parliamentary election as well.
As we all know, Rajapaksa's family is considered to be one of those who once ruled Sri Lanka. It is a kingdom actually. This was
Mhm.
Namal Rajapaksa's first time competing in the presidential election. However, he failed
Mhm.
to obtain more than 3.42 lakh votes. Can we assume that Rajapaksa's supporters have lost faith in Namal Rajapaksa?
I think it is too soon to tell because the very meaning of people's protest was against the Rajapaksa clan. But also, I'll tell you one thing: Sri Lankans have very small memory span, or they are quick to forget. In 2015, when Mahinda Rajapaksa was defeated, everybody thought the Rajapaksa era was over. But then again, Gotabaya Rajapaksa won with 6.9 million votes in 2019.
Yeah.
It is very true that large majority of Sinhala population have lost faith in Rajapaksa right now, but this could change anytime. So that is why it's very much incumbent upon Andhra Kumar Dissanayake, the current president, to deliver on his promises and to assure them and to really take action against the corrupt establishment so that people won't feel that their vote going to waste one more time.
So you say people lost faith.
In a way, yes.
In a way,
Very
yes.
much,
Okay.
yes, yes. I wouldn't say like people, the why people would embrace an outsider candidate or somebody not who is not from an established
Yeah.
establishment politics sends a very clear message, right? The message is that people have lost faith in establishment politics, and people are not ready to be tempted by racial, religious superiority lines when they are really struggling hard to feed themselves uh, on an when it is an everyday struggle. So, but it is also incumbent that people can quickly forget, people can quickly be teased. So that's why President AKD should deliver on his promises soon.
In this election, we have to talk about another important person, Sarath Fonseka. who used to be an honorable field marshal, was also a highly awaited candidate in this election actually. He received 41 lakh votes in the 2010 election after the Sri Lankan civil war, but today he has only received 22,000 votes. What do you think led to this decline? It was
I
shocking
think
actually.
I think the reason why he received 41,000 votes in 2010 election was for a different reason, right? Because it was very much, many of the votes were very much against Mahinda Rajapaksa um, voting base. But the very reason why he failed this time disastrously is because uh, he went against the party that he was with for a long time, which was SJB. And when he went against and contested on his own, he had no campaign machinery to support him. He had no compelling message. And he was, I think people saw him as a necessary person at that point, but he isn't considered necessary anymore in that front. And there was no significant promises that he came and gave, or there was no significant um, persuasion point people had to vote for him. If you ask me, I'm really surprised that 22,000 people actually voted for him, not to say
Yeah.
anything against them. But this was clearly a race where people clearly wanted to send a message, and they were done with the old guards. So yeah, and and Sarath Fonseka is considered as one of the old guards for sure.
Now, Anurag Kumara Disnaike stated that his victory would result in the termination of Adani's wind power project. Additionally, he stated that he will enhance relationships with India and restore the economy. It has been reported that Sri Lanka has shown closeness to China in the past few days. What kind of strategy is Sri Lanka is likely to take with China? Can India-Sri Lanka relations improve? In your opinion, what steps should we take to revive and improve the economy?
I think it's Andhra Kumar Dissanayake has, for a large sense, been in the back, like the back seat of governance, right? He has always been in the opposition, not always, but on a large part, he has been in the opposition. Uh, Most of the things that they were talking has always been rhetoric. If we come to power, we would do this. But I'm also quite sure one thing. Like, I'll go back to one of the questions you asked. Like, he had a very meteorical rise in a very short time, right?
Yeah.
From getting only 418,000 votes to harnessing 43 lakhs votes. He was able to like grow that fast, right? In that sense, I think AKD is a very pragmatic leader, and I'm pretty sure they would have observed the mistakes the past leaders have done when it came to openly embracing China, or when it came to antagonizing India. And even during the campaign time, he has visited India, and he has met with the Indian delegation a couple of times. So in that way, I think, and I would like to believe that AKD is a very pragmatic leader, and he would want to manage the relationships well. And for any president to sustain the goodwill of the people, the economy has to go smoothly. Uh, so I think, and I believe that they will take right steps, and I think they would not openly antagonize any of the world powers, uh, at least now. And I think, although international media likes to portray Andhra Kumar Dissanayake as a Marxist leader, or Marxist from Marxist origin, but I think he's a center-left candidate and with pragmatic solutions. So, um, and this is too early. Once again, I'm sorry for giving this answer for too many times. Only
Yeah.
time will tell. But the way they launched their campaign in the last 2 years post Taragalia, the way they attacked each problem, the way they won the goodwill of the people, it clearly suggests a message that they would want to take a pragmatic path more than an ideological path, because they would really want to deliver. So in that way, it's a good start. So let's hope he delivers and he doesn't antagonize any world powers, because Sri Lanka has always been known as a country that spearheaded the non-aligned movement. Right? We have never aligned ourselves to either way during the earlier times, but it changed with the times of Mahinda Rajapaksa, where we openly embraced China way too much. But I don't think, or I hope AKD won't fall into the temptation one more time.
Okay, expecting the same.
Yes.
There is a belief that Anurag Kumara Dissanayake, the winner of the presidential election, can effectively govern only if he dissolves the parliament and conducts a new election. His party has only 3 MPs in the parliament. Is there any possibility of that happening? What do you think about this?
Yeah, I think I was reading on Facebook and a couple of places that the parliament will be dissolved today or within the course of this week for sure.
Sure.
And I think it's only right. Anyway, parliamentary terms comes to an end early next year. Early or mid next year, if I am correct. And I think people should exercise and give a fresh mandate. And presidential election is a three. It has been a three-way race, but parliamentary election dynamics is completely different. So it's good to go back to the people and test um, how much trust they would place on NPP as well as the other establishment parties. So I think it's only the right thing to really go back to people and ask um, their mandate one more time. So I see it as a welcome first step for governance to get a fresh mandate.
And finally, sir, there is a news that Ranil Wickramasinghe has invited Sajith Premadasa to form an alliance between the UNP and SJP to contest the general election. Is this true? Can you tell me how this alliance will work?
As you said, it's a rumor, and I don't have any confirmed sources. I also read it somewhere today morning.
Yeah.
Um, if SJB and Ranil Wickramasinghe join forces, it will certainly be a formidable force. But let's not forget that UNP didn't even end up getting one seat. Instead, they only got one seat through bonus, which Ranil Wickramasinghe ended up using. I'm sorry, ended up using. So it's going to be quite interesting to see whether SJB will accept on that offer. If you really think the way Sajid lost this election is not at all humiliating defeat, it's certainly a good fight that was given from the end. They have the goodwill of the people. I hope to believe. Um, so in my point of view, I don't see that happening. But this is Sri Lankan politics. Anything is possible. Somebody who was a complete outsider is president today. So, but I think I'll go back to one point. The very reason why Sajid Premadasa came out of UNP and formed SJB was because the former president Ranil Wickramasinghe has held that party hostage after strings of electoral defeats, and he wasn't ready to empower the next generation of leaders. So I think if at all a coalition is to happen, some of these important questions are to be answered in very clear terms.
Thank you for your precious time you spent with Malam channel, sir. And it was a really very nice move, like as though we landed in Sri Lanka.
Thank you so much, Priya. I'm sorry, like my health is down with the
Can
flu, but
understand.
I
Can
appreciate
understand.
that. Yeah.
Sorry for the disturbance too.
Not at all, not at all. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank
And go back
you,
to your
sir.
channel.